Howdy freeze dryers. If you are a current freeze dryer or you're looking to buy a freeze dryer, chances are you fall into a handful of categories. Prepper, a gardener, homesteader, freeze drying business owner, or you just like snacks, special dietary needs. No matter what type of freeze dryer you are, today's video is going to help you out. There's been a lot of talk about food additives lately and food dyes and food nutrition and all of the junk that these big companies somehow slip into your food. If you own a freeze dryer, you have a huge advantage. You can get a lot of nutrition while adding food dyes, freeze drying powders, because we're gonna talk about food color and food additives pertaining to color, all while giving you a good quality food, and on top of that, it will store for a very long time. So let's get into some food dyes and some food additives that you can use. And by the end of this video, you will have a nice color coordinated chart that will show you how to get food dyes and food additives into your foods, whether they're desserts or drinks or any kind of meal really, with safe foods that you know the source of and giving you great nutrition and flavor. So I've been preaching for a long time that one of the best benefits of a freeze dryer is actually making stuff into a powder. And as things go on and more users are finding new uses for these powders, we've really seen that in the last few years. Fruit powders, vegetable powders, powders that you can turn into a sauce or a condiment or just a spice or anything like that really is just a huge benefit for freeze drying. It stores really well. It has multiple use cases. It's lightweight and it doesn't take up much room at all, and you can store a whole bunch of it in a small little compact area. And even though it's nice to have peaches or strawberries, blueberries in nice whole form like this to be able to snack on, if you blend these down, you can get 5 to 6 times the amount if you put it into a powder into the same container. So once you have these blended down into a powder, where do you go from there? What uses are they good for? I use freeze-dried powders almost on a daily basis. I use them as additives in our meals at night. I love using greens, microgreens and spinach and arugula and things like that as a powder. I add them into pastas and soups. I love freeze-dried fruit powders in the morning. I add them to my oatmeal. We add them to smoothies, of course. But there are so many more uses for freeze-dried fruits and veggies and other types of foods once they're in a powder form, aside from additives. They are great for food coloring or food dyes. Desserts and pastries, you can also add them to dips to color those. You can add them to alcoholic drinks. The list goes on and on. You're not only adding nutrition potentially, you're also adding color, and you can potentially add some different flavor profiles to your foods or drinks as well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down the food coloring food chain, Roy G. Biv. If you remember that from elementary school, those are all the colors of the rainbow. We're gonna do it in order, and you should have a nice chart at the end of this that you can kind of base your cooking needs from. And we will add this to the freezedryingcookbook.com. So let's start with R of Roy, and that's gonna be red. For the most brilliant red, I would suggest freeze-dried beets. These will not work with all types of things, especially like desserts and things, because you don't necessarily always want beet-flavored desserts. But beets are a brilliant red, and a little bit will go a long way. Obviously, if you've ever handled beets before, they'll stain your hands red, they'll stain really your countertop or anything they touch. So be careful about that. Next down the list from the beets will be cherries. These are a very dark variety, but cherries oftentimes are very brilliant red color, and kind of like the beets, they can stain things. That's a good indicator that it's gonna do a good job in your food dyes or food additives. One cautionary measure for cherries, just make sure that you're getting sweet cherries if you're using them for dessert, because a lot of cherries are kind of tart tasting. Pick a sweet variety of cherries. I want to mention that just like food coloring, with certain colors you have to add more, because otherwise you're gonna get muted colors. Strawberries and raspberries, those are the next step down in the reds. You will have to use more of those to get the brilliant red color, especially probably raspberries, because a lot of times those are more of kind of a fuchsia color when they're in powder form. Flavor-wise and nutrition-wise, you're gonna get a lot of bang for your buck by adding this into things. Great for desserts, muffins, and cookies. Last would be freeze-dried cranberries. These are going to also be a very tart variety. Cranberries in the raw form super tart. If you've ever had cranberry juice before, there is a lot of sugar added to that. They are gonna give you more of a muted red. So if you're looking for that dark red color, maybe visit one of the earlier ones that we've talked about. Next down the food dye rainbow, orange. You can use oranges. That's the most common thing people would think of. They're extremely sticky. They don't really powder very well, and they take a very long time to freeze dry. If you're looking for orange specific foods, or you're looking for orange flavoring, papaya gives you an awesome tropical flavor. It's great for drinks, and it's also really good for summertime snacks and desserts if you add them into those. Peaches and mangoes, two of my favorite freeze-dried snacks, also make an awesome freeze-dried powder. This stuff is great for a lighter orange color, and this stuff is awesome if you powder it and put it on top of ice cream or add it to peaches and cream, things like that. Great for desserts, great for whipped topping. Not an overpowering flavor, and also not an overpowering orange color. Last on the orange spectrum would be goji berries. Not one that I have personal experience with. They are more of a red color, but I think when they're powdered down would give you a good orange color. If you've tried goji berries, make sure you let me know. Yellow's next. And most people would think of banana when they think of yellow. Banana, not the greatest. It's not gonna give you the brightest yellow there is. It's gonna give you kind of a muted, faded yellow. Great flavor. Banana is great for sweetening things up as well. The best bang for your buck for yellow, pineapple. Pineapple also gives you awesome flavor. It's very, very sweet. Little bit tricky to freeze dry. It is very sticky. I would recommend probably blending it before you try to freeze dry it and powder it. Pre-freezing is gonna help you a lot with that. We offer a lot of products at Freeze Drying Supplies that can help you with the pre-freezing process, and those will also help you with the sticky mess, the sticky cleanup, helping you through the freeze drying process as well as the freeze drying packaging process. I'm gonna give you two more suggestions for yellow food coloring, and then I'm also gonna give you a bonus powder. First one being lemon or lemon zest. You have to be a little bit careful with this because it can get very overpowering flavor-wise. It also will give you a pretty muted yellow color. The other one is ginger. Same situation for ginger. A little dab will do ya. It will give you a yellow color, but it's gonna be a very muted yellow color. Ginger can be very overpowering. It can get very tangy. It can be very sour at times. It can be very spicy at times, but it can definitely give you some interesting flavor profiles in your foods. Bonus yellow color, there is something called a golden kiwi. It might be a little bit difficult to find, but it is a dark gold color. So if you freeze dried it, I would imagine it would give you a great yellow color. Probably also give you some nice sweetness if it's anything like the green kiwi that you're used to seeing. Maybe do some research, or if you have experience, again, drop it down in the comment, please. And speaking of kiwis, let's move into green. That's gonna be our first one, would be kiwi. Green kiwi. Gives you great flavors. It's gonna give you a lighter green color, and it's gonna be awesome for desserts. It's gonna be that tropical flavor, really refreshing in the summer or springtime. If you're looking for a really dark green, I would suggest using spinach or arugula. Those are both very dark leafy greens. Just be careful with what you're using it for, because it can also add spinach flavor or arugula flavor. But it will be packed with nutrition, all good stuff for you. If you're looking for a lighter pastel type green, I would probably go with an avocado. Avocado, when it's mixed in with things, usually does not add a lot of avocado flavor. It can kind of blend in with whatever you're putting it in, even desserts. It's gonna give you a nice green color. It's gonna give you kind of a creamy consistency. So it's really good for frostings and toppings and dips and things like that. Things you normally wouldn't think of putting avocado in. It also powders very nicely. And if you want to make a guacamole, it's good for that too. A Granny Smith green apple blended and freeze dried will give you a very, very light green color and also give you some Granny Smith apple flavoring. And my very last suggestion, this is going to be controversial in the culinary world, but freeze-dried jalapeno powder. Jalapeno. It would be awesome, I think, mixed with some kind of pastries, maybe raspberry pastries, something like that. I'm guessing a little dab will do ya. Jalapeno powder also, you're gonna wanna wear a mask, because when that stuff gets into the air, it goes straight up your nose and right into your sinuses and you'll be coughing. Ask me how I know. Next one is a tricky one. Probably the most tricky out of all of the colors, blue. It's tricky because it's tough to get the true blue color and not get a purple color. Really the only options are gonna be blueberries and currants, black currants. The black currants are gonna give you a deeper blue, but still give you a little bit of a purple color. The blueberries, even if you add a whole bunch of blueberries, they're gonna give you more of a purple color. Those are really the only two suggestions that I could come up with for the blue food dye coloring. If you have any suggestions, please let us know. Hey, are you still there? Are you still following along? Because we're going down Roy G. Biv. The next one is I. Indigo? No one really calls it indigo anymore, but really it's in between blue and violet. So you can use what we just talked about in blue and mix it with our next color, violet or purple, and kind of get in between there if you need to. Let's go into violet or purple. Blackberries. Blackberries are kind of in that same spectrum with beets and cherries, where when you touch them, they'll stain your hands. That's a great indicator it's gonna be a good food coloring or food dye. It's gonna give you a rich purple color. It's going to give you a somewhat tart flavor. Blackberries are not usually sweet, so you could add some other things with it if you're making a dessert or whatever to sweeten it up, like a banana, something like that, something that would go along with that blackberry very well. You could also use a grape powder. Purple grapes will give you a very light purple color. Also, same thing, you want to be careful if you're trying to get sweet, because grapes can also, red grapes especially, purple grapes, can be tart because they are full of tannins. Last thing, we're going to talk about acai berries. Not only will those give you a bold, deep, violet purple color, they are a superfood. So if you have those and you freeze dry them, you're adding a ton of nutrition. You're also getting that wonderful purple color from the acai berries. We are done with Roy G. Biv, but there are a few other colors we need to talk about. Black is probably not gonna happen. The only thing I could think of would be maybe some activated charcoal or something like that. It's still a powder, it's not really freeze dried, but you could add it to even those blue colors to try and bolden up those blue colors. Last would be a white or an off-white color. Those are pretty simple, and there's all kinds of stuff that we can add to foods to make them an off-white or a white color. Milk and yogurt are a great one. Apples, pears, and coconut. You have to be a little bit careful with coconut because it can be oily. That covers pretty much the entire color spectrum for food dyes. I hope with this information you can use it to make a healthier product, a healthier freeze-dried product, a healthier food for you and your family. I hope you found this video helpful and informational. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the freeze drying community. Our goal here is always to educate freeze dryers and provide you information that can help you utilize your freeze dryer in the best way possible. Thanks for joining me today, and until next time, happy freeze drying. Hey, are you unlocking your full potential as a freeze dryer? If you're not signed up for the freeze drying community email list, you're missing out on pro freeze drying tips and freeze dryer giveaways, the latest sales, inspirational people in the freeze drying community, as well as invaluable food storage recipes. And most important, unlocking your inner freeze drying guru. Click the first link in the description to get signed up.